Welcome to a quick discussion on technological influences on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We'll be addressing three specific classroom technologies that we do not think get enough press, which is lighting, technology-induced sleep deprivation impacts on ADHD, and EMF. ADHD is now one of the most common childhood disorders seen in classrooms, marked by challenges with attention, impulse control, and hyperactivity. With technology becoming essential to learning, many teachers are asking how screens and digital tools influence students with ADHD. Screen use and ADHD and what research shows us. A study by Hill and colleagues examined 120 children with and without a family history of ADHD. They found that children who later showed higher ADHD-related symptoms had spent more time using media earlier in life. However, this does not mean screens cause ADHD. Instead, it suggests that children predisposed to ADHD may be naturally drawn to screens. Now we'll be talking about the dopamine connection. A common theory proposes that children with ADHD experience dopamine imbalances, which affect reward, motivation, and focus. Because screens provide a quick burst of dopamine, students with ADHD may gravitate towards digital activities. The downside is everyday learning tasks like reading, writing, and listening can feel less stimulating in comparison. This means teachers need to use technologies intentionally. What this means for teachers. CLO number 3. Although classrooms rely heavily on laptops and digital platforms, technologies can be both helpful and challenging for students with ADHD. Research shows that computer-assisted instruction is especially effective because it uses text and graphics, step-by-step prompts, and audio-visual cues. These features break down tasks into manageable steps, provide structure, and keep learners engaged by making technology a powerful support when used strategically.
Building onto that, there's a longitudinal study by Borstein et al. With 302 8th grade students to examine technology use and its effects on sleep quality and daytime sleepiness, finding that students with ADHD use more technology, approximately 3 hours per day, versus 2 hours and 20 minutes for peers without ADHD, especially video games. Greater technology use was linked to more sleep problems, including sleep-wake issues and reduced school night sleep for all students. But only adolescents with ADHD showed higher teacher-reported daytime sleepiness, affecting attention and academic performance. 1 additional hour of screen time was associated with 11 fewer minutes of sleep. In another article, Keitama further highlights that children with ADHD are drawn to fast-paced media, like video games, which can worsen inattention and impulsivity as they provide constant stimulation, causing cognitive overload. Furthermore, this form of technology allows for immediate rewards, triggering dopamine release and disrupting executive functioning and sleep. Excessive or pre-bed screen time also interferes with melatonin production, causing poorer sleep and later intensifying ADHD symptoms during the day in the classroom. However, technology can have positive effects when used responsibly. Educational apps can support attention, organization, time management, self-regulation, and provide relaxation exercises. For example, Trello is an app that Eve and I have used when you create lists and visual cards to organize assignments, progress, and deadlines, as well as Forest, an app that encourages others to stay focused as they plant a fake tree, and if they stray away from the app and do other things, the tree they planted will wither. A balanced approach is recommended to reduce negative effects, with parents monitoring and setting up structured schedules and limits, and teachers incorporating ADHD-friendly educational apps while teaching healthy technology habits. Overall, students with ADHD used more technology, linking to poorer sleep quality and greater daytime sleepiness, even after accounting for medications, puberty, gender, and other symptoms. These studies connect to CLO 11 and CLO 3 by showing how teachers can structure classrooms and plan lessons that support students with ADHD and help them reach their optimal learning potential. Teachers can set clear expectations around technology use, teach healthy tech habits, and incorporate ADHD-friendly educational apps to promote self-regulation. Borstein and colleagues also highlight that students with ADHD are more vulnerable to tech-related sleep deficits, which can affect attention and participation, so teachers should account for alertness levels when planning the day. This includes providing flexible and hands-on activities, varied formats for students to show their learning and understanding, clear routines and expectations, and scheduling demanding lessons at times where students are most alert, like the late morning, things everyone can take into consideration for their classrooms. For example, if there's a math lesson you have to get through as there's a test coming up, you want to make sure you go over that when the kids are most focused and ready for learning. Teachers can also plan physical activity breaks when using technology for long periods of time to regulate energy. You want to plan your lessons around the needs of the class and what activities would work best.
Now we'll take a look into lighting and ADHD. Lighting also acts as a classroom technology. Research shows that lighting, natural versus artificial, and its glare, intensity, or color and temperature can influence attention and behavior in students with ADHD. For example, a teacher at Pacific Academy uses warm string lights to reduce the harshness of cool fluorescent lights. Connecting to CLO number 11, creating an optimal classroom environment, teachers can significantly improve focus and reduce sensory overload with small lighting changes in their classroom, such as using natural warm morning light to calm sensory input, shifting to cooler artificial light later in the day to maintain alertness, and controlling glare with blinds or curtains. Even minor lighting changes can support attention, self-regulation, and overall comfort for students with ADHD.
We'll wrap up our three-part look at technology and ADHD by turning to something that affects every student: Wi-Fi exposure in learning environments. Wi-Fi is everywhere in our schools, and while it's incredibly useful, researchers and educators are beginning to question whether constant electromagnetic radiation, or EMR, has concerning effects on developing brains. One of the most well-known early observations came from a group of grade 9 students in Denmark. They noticed that when they slept with their phones near their heads, they had trouble focusing the next day, so they set up a simple experiment. They grew some plants next to Wi-Fi routers and others away from Wi-Fi. The results went viral. The seeds near the routers barely grew, while the others sprouted normally. This captured public attention because it raised a simple question: if plants don't grow with Wi-Fi exposure, what about children? Two researchers who have been exploring that question are Dr. Magda Havas and Dr. Martha Herbert. Dr. Martha Herbert, a pediatric neurologist and former Harvard Medical School professor, argues that there is enough scientific evidence to suggest that electromagnetic fields can interfere with the brain's chemical and electrical balance. She explains that EMF exposure can stress cells, disrupt cell membranes, impair mitochondria, and ultimately contribute to disorganized brain signaling. Dr. Magda Havas, who studies biological effects of electromagnetic pollution, highlights that some children may experience electrohypersensitivity, with symptoms like sleep issues, fatigue, anxiety, and memory problems, symptoms that can mirror or worsen ADHD. Some countries, such as France, have responded by banning Wi-Fi in early education settings and switching to wired connections. Now, while removal of EMF from Canadian schools is ideal, it's not realistic for individual teachers, so our conversation becomes more about intentionality. And this ties directly into two of our course learning outcomes. CLO number 3, knowing what I do now about EMF. As a future teacher, I will try to incorporate technology breaks into lesson plans, and if doing an activity that does not require technology, I will request students to put unused phones and computers at the back of the room. I hope to be able to bring my students outside whenever possible to enjoy a complete EMF-free learning experience, among other beneficials of outdoor learning. If I see that a unit is entirely online, I might think creatively about how I can bring some elements offline. Planning for learning isn't only about content, it's also about helping students stay regulated and attentive so that learning delivery styles support attention and cognitive function, particularly for students with ADHD. And CLO number 11, structuring a classroom for optimal learning can include placing phone drop zones at the front of the room so devices are stored away from students' bodies, and using Ethernet connections for computers if resources allow. There are even EMF blocking cages for school Wi-Fi routers. Being thoughtful about EMF exposure supports focus, brain function, and neurological development, especially for students with ADHD. To conclude our podcast, our thinking has developed a lot as we've looked into hidden and background factors affecting our students, and the unseen possible impacts of our technology use in the classroom. By understanding all the moving parts that contribute to the struggles of students with ADHD, we hope this gives teachers more compassion for their students and inspires teachers to use technology with more intention rather than as a default.